Everything you wish you could ask, straight up, to the point, no escape. You never get the answer if you don't ask the question.
Welcome to Winnipeg Direct on Shaw, where issues, topics, and events affecting Manitobans and Canadians are considered, discussed, and dissected in our search for the big story. My name is Megan Duffy, and our guests in the first segment include Curtis Hull, Project Manager for Climate Change Connection, Christina Hunter from the University of Manitoba Environment and Geography Department, and Robert Jewsbury, Mayor of the town of Glenborough. Our first issue for discussion is the agreement recently reached between the City of Winnipeg and the province to capture and burn off methane gas emissions from the Brady landfill, which is the largest in the province. It includes construction of Central Station to convert methane to carbon dioxide, with the project costing $2.5 million. So, Curtis, with that said, in your opinion, is the money well spent, or are we just exchanging one greenhouse gas for another?
Well, it is exchanging one greenhouse gas for another, but not all greenhouse gases are created equal. And in fact, methane, which is the gas that's given off by the decomposition of organic material in the absence of oxygen, anaerobic decomposition, that methane is 25 times more powerful in its warming potential as compared to carbon dioxide. So the simple fact, or the act of burning the methane, converts it from methane to carbon dioxide, so it basically reduces the warming potential of the gas by a factor of 1 to 25.
So this project, Christina, allegedly will have the same environmental impact as if we were taking 19,000 cars off the road, yet we are still contributing to greenhouse gases. Yeah. Are there any better alternatives to burning methane gas?
Yeah, absolutely, and I really see this as a first step. It's great that we're tackling this problem because methane left alone in the landfill can be hazardous and of course is being released slowly as a greenhouse gas and so on. But a lot of other municipalities and most major cities are actually capturing that methane and using it as a fuel source to heat homes. Hundreds of thousands of homes in the United States are being heated with this captured landfill gas. And it's a perfectly viable source of methane with a very little conversion. It can be used quite easily. So it's a bit of a first step in a broader opportunity. So I would say it's great that we're doing it, but really we could be doing better.
So Robert, Brady landfill is one of the major landfills this is the first time we're starting this project. Why do you think it's taken Winnipeg 9 years to get this going?
Lack of research, maybe. We're really behind on this because our landfill site is located on the Agassiz Aquifer and we had to close it. And all our garbage is trucked 60 miles to a more secure location.
Curtis, why do you think it's taken Winnipeg so long to start this program?
Well, it took a lot of research to decide what they were going to do with the gas.
Are there any potential dangers to anyone living near the Brady landfill, such as St. Norbert or Waverly West?
I wouldn't say so, no.
In fact, I would suggest that the danger is lower now that they are undergoing this capture and conversion program, rather than have it simply vented or allowing it to build up and then it can migrate through the subsurface and end up in places that we don't want it to go. So
do you think this is a good idea for Winnipeg in general, or do you think that this is something that we've not put our money into?
Well, I think it's well worthwhile doing. It's a first step. You know, Christina was talking about alternate uses for the methane, and there are alternate uses for the methane. There are 52 landfills across Canada that capture the methane, and 14 that create electricity from it. But the thing is that in all of those sites, the first step is to capture the methane, to keep it from being expelled uncontrolled into the atmosphere. So this is an excellent first step for a landfill of this size. And the fact is that the Brady landfill is the number 3 in the list of Manitoba's 8 large final emitters. So it generates about 300 kilotons of carbon dioxide equivalent as methane every year.
So Christina, in your opinion, why has Manitoba Hydro rejected using this as a, let's say they're going to heat U of M with it, the campus, and they've now rejected that. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I'm suspecting there are some cost and infrastructure requirements that were too great to go down that road. I hope it's still an option for the future, but it seems like we really are doing the minimum of what we must be doing in order to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, but not fully capitalizing on this. We're taking natural gas and burning it off. And I mean, that's what we all are heating our homes with, or the vast majority of us anyways in Winnipeg are heating our homes with. So we certainly could be using that fuel. So we're in a sense wasting some fuel as a result of this. However, it is such an important step, not just on a greenhouse gas reduction, but also to reduce any potential for human health problems and risk of explosions. And certainly that does happen at landfills occasionally. So it is very important to be capturing
explosions.
this.
Where would those take place?
When the methane migrates through the landfill and even off-site underground, and then it builds up in an area and it can cause an explosion. And so it does create health hazards in that sense. So that's very important that we do start capturing it and converting it.
So Curtis, what will burning the methane gas do to the greenhouse gas emissions going into the environment?
Well, it reduces the warming effect of the gas by that factor of 25. But there's something that I'd like to interject here, and that is that really we should talk about, we're talking about the use of or conversion of the methane, but we also should talk about reduction of the amount of organic waste that goes into the landfill in the first place, because there's much better use for that organic material, which is compost. If you take the organic material and compost it instead, then you've got a secondary benefit of, besides reducing the global warming effect of it, you wind up with good plant food, and it helps you grow food.
So do you think that more people should implement composting in their homes in general?
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that can be done both in small communities and in large communities for a net benefit without a lot of extra work.
Christina, do you compost?
Absolutely. I have 3 composters behind my home.
So what advice could you give someone like me who's new to composting, I will admit, on how to get started with it?
It's not rocket science. You know what? It's actually really easy. I just put anything in that's not meat or dairy, and also, you know, any green material from the garden, and mix it once in a while and let it go. And it doesn't take much, actually. It seems to work really well, and I get great compost for my garden then, and it's an excellent natural fertilizer. And I agree with Kurt that we should really be talking about this not just as capturing what's already in there as far as methane gas is concerned, but let's try and address the issue that we're putting an awful lot into the landfill that doesn't need to go in there. And if we can displace that amount, we're not going to be generating as much methane, which is really hazardous and problematic in the first place.
And you were asking about the help in getting started composting. The Green Action Center, if you go to their website, they have clinics where you can actually become a master composter, and so they'll teach you.
And I'm sure you're a master composter.
No, I'm not actually, but I've been thinking about it. It's not a bad idea.
Robert, do you compost, or do a lot of people in your area compost?
No, very few.
Very few.
Really large into recycling, but not in composting. But one question I have, does a compost heap not generate methane gas?
No, if you stir it, it won't. And actually, the best test is whether it smells. Mm-hmm. If you've come by your compost and what the hell's that? You need to stir it.
Yeah.
And when you stir it, it changes.
Oxygen is the key to preventing the generation of methane.
Yeah.
Okay.
So keep turning your compost pile and you'll be good.
So now, do you just get a rake in there and give it a big stir, or what?
Pitchfork.
There's various tools.
There's
there's
special
tools you can buy if you want.
Yeah.
So aside from burning off the methane gas, is there anything else we could be doing with the gas?
Yeah, we should be using it. You can either get it into a form and have it enter our pipeline system. It needs to be upgraded to make sure there aren't other contaminants and so on in it, and it can just enter our gas distribution system. Yeah. But we can also be using it right on the site or very nearby for heating buildings nearby, etc. But I suspect there's more that could be used there nearby. It can be very efficient if we're looking at heating a district, like heating the entire campus at U of M, for example, which was one of the considerations. That can be a very efficient use of that type of fuel source, because the U of M, then that district could just control where it goes and make use of it very efficiently.
So Robert, do you think the city will change their mind and you start using this gas eventually, or do you think that's not even in the future?
It'll come down to the economics.
And
That's
do you
what I
think that smaller areas such as Glenboro would ever be able to do something like this?
No. It's just not possible with the infrastructure that's in place.
Really? Okay.
We have no natural gas facilities, so.
And quite frankly, and not being from a small town, but I think that in terms of economics, the thing to investigate in a small community would be diverting the source material, diverting your organics either to your backyard composters, as we were talking about, or a central facility like a community compost facility, which would then be able to take your meat and dairy products and control it so that pests and et cetera won't be a problem.
So what other dangers does the Brady landfill pose to people that live nearby?
Well, it's right now it's currently being vented. So there are vents in, and the methane is going straight up into the atmosphere. The problem is that it's a little bit hard to predict exactly where it's going, because the landfill is very discontinuous underground. There are lots of things going on, and it could get into areas where we don't want it to, into groundwater and so on. Now, we're not drinking our groundwater from this area, but certainly it does pose a risk for human health and safety, and also for those who are working on the landfill. And then into the future, when we have future plans of what to do with this landfill, we would need to be concerned about future uses of drilling into it and so on, being concerned about pockets of methane still existing in there that would be hazardous to those using the site.
Great. Well, I'd like to thank my guests for joining me here on Winnipeg Direct. We'll be right back right after this.